Good evening and welcome to the 99th edition of the Wildcat Sports Network and the 6th and final edition of this year's Inside the 6A. On this episode, we'll talk about the star-studded matchup of Jonesboro versus Springdale and who will walk away with that elusive ring. We've also got Power 5 rankings for both girls and boys. We've got a lot to cover and not a lot of time to waste. Inside the 6A starts right now. Welcome back, and now we're going to talk about the previous matchups in this state tournament and who we thought stood out in this state tournament. I'm going to start off with just the girls, of course. I think Conway really took care of business, didn't really let anybody have a chance with them, and just kind of dominated this state tournament.
Yeah, I do think I agree with you on that because, I mean, let's be honest, I think we all had Conway winning it. So we're not really surprised by the results, but I think we're surprised with how they did it. Because like we said, they could have beat Fayetteville by more than they did, and they beat them by 24. And that was, I would say that's fairly easy paced for Conway. And then they turn around in 2 days and they beat Central by almost 30 points again. I just feel like they're playing their best basketball and they really are just coasting right now.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about it last show, just how dominant Conway is, and I mean, we're just seeing the effects right now in the tournament. So,
and we talk about the positive side of a team taking care of business well. I think all of us really, other than maybe picked HAR-BER to win that North Little Rock game, and they just couldn't do it. North Little Rock became a little too overpowered when it came to it. Their bench really helped in that game, and it was just too much for the Lady Wildcats, who had a great season. Patience McDaniel did a great job there, but North Little Rock is a serious threat to win this championship. I know we said Conway has it in the bag, but if any team's going to beat them, that's North Little Rock, and they're in the state title game together.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think because North Little Rock, although they hadn't beat Central before, they always say it's hard to beat a great team 3 times in a year. And Conway is obviously 2-0 against North Little Rock, but I do think North Little Rock, this is their time because they have been playing some great basketball. Because they beat HAR-BER in the quarterfinals and then they beat Cabot in the semifinals. And I think HAR-BER Lady Wildcats played the best basketball. You could maybe put Northside as the best from the West, but I definitely think that they outplayed HAR-BER, and I think HAR-BER was actually a better test for what Conway's going to represent in the state championship than Cabot was.
Yeah, I think, the winner of that North Little Rock HAR-BER game was going to decide who was in the state championship against Conway. And, I mean, North Little Rock took care of business, so I think that obviously they're there for a reason.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun matchup. We talk about that. If anybody has one, it's kind of a Cinderella pick. We always talk about that when we talk about March Madness. There's always going to be a team like the Oral Roberts or the Loyola Chicagos that are going to upset some people and really mess up some brackets. And I'm going to go, my upset pick is Central. The Central girls. They did an amazing job of being a little bit of a Cinderella, went to beat Northside in a pretty dramatic fashion, 57-49, and then go up against Conway and, of course, get beat there. But at the same time, had a great run.
Yeah, for me, I think I'm going to have to put my Cinderella story as Cabot girls because,
yeah.
I mean, first round, looked too easy for them beating a Heritage, and then they play the next game against the 1 seed in Bentonville and took care of business there, and then only lost to North Little Rock by 6. Yeah, only lost to them by 6. So, I mean, obviously they were kind of showing that they're contenders, and they were only the 4 seed, and they were 7 points away from that state championship game. So I think that's going to have to be my Cinderella story.
Yeah, I think instead of just focusing on like a Cinderella story, I just think this tournament was mainly the story of the Central. They really, all 4 Central teams in the semifinals. And I do think if the HAR-BER Lady Wildcats or Northside would have played that same Cabot team, I do think they end up winning that game. But then, like you said, Cabot only lost to North Little Rock by 6, and North Little Rock outplayed HAR-BER from quarter to quarter. The only quarter I believe HAR-BER looked better was the first quarter. So I think it's just been the tournament of the Central team so far, and I think that was just kind of an overestimate by a couple of us not expecting the Central to do. Because I believe we all had Bentonville winning that Cabot matchup, and, well, That's how it is sometimes.
Yeah, I didn't think Bentonville. I mean, Bentonville, one of those teams that live or dies by the 3 ball, and they died by it that night. As couldn't hit that many shots, and Cabot was not missing. They were firing on all cylinders. They got a great sophomore who will, or I think maybe even a junior. I can't remember, but that'll be a player for years to come. And now we switch over to the boys' side. We're going to start with who we think has been impressive so far. I'm going to say Springdale Bulldogs. Since we cover the 6A West, we normally pick a little more bias towards the 6A West than the Central, as Trevor talked about in the girls' side. But at the same time, from Springdale to go from the 3 seed in the West, beat the 6 seed pretty easily, go against a Central team that had a star on it, and then continue to beat Bentonville West, who had a star on it as well, and now go to the finals. It's a pretty great Cinderella run right there for Springdale.
Yeah, I mean, Springdale's definitely playing some good basketball right now. And I would also say that I'm kind of worried. I know we'll probably talk about the finals later, but Jonesboro has kind of been, I don't know, they haven't shocked me, or they've kind of shocked me in the sense of they've been playing down a little bit. I mean, obviously that first game against Bentonville, I don't even need any words. They absolutely destroyed
they stomped them.
Yeah. But then they turn around, and I mean, Cabot was feeling good after just beating HAR-BER, but only to beat them by 2 in a low-scoring game. Kind of begs the question, like, is Jonesboro for real? Like, how are they going to match up against Springdale? So yeah, Springdale's been playing good, and Jonesboro, I think their last game could have been one of their worst games all season. So I just wonder, it's going to be an interesting matchup for sure.
Yeah, I think earlier in the season, I remember saying something along the lines as I had Springdale winning the conference. They may have not won the conference, but they have proven this tournament that they were the best from the West, beating Bentonville West pretty soundly. I will say Bentonville West did make a run into the late third quarter-ish, but Springdale was in control of that game from start to finish. And I think what's really created this for Springdale, proving they're the West, is the ball movement. I think without that ball movement, that's when it starts to not fall apart for Springdale, but whenever you start having selfish plays, I think they accidentally do them sometimes, but if they pass around that ball, it's going to be tough to beat them, I think.
I think when Muldrew averages about 5 assists per game, Sealy gets about 5 assists per game, when those 2 stars are getting others involved, such as Tevin Tate and Carson Tangnis, when you get those others involved, you've got a sound basketball team, and that's what they've really figured out. I mean, they're a young team, obviously. Your 2 stars, your 1-2 punch is sophomores, so it's going to take a little bit to figure that out, and they figured it out in the exact perfect timing of when they needed to. Now we're going to talk about our kind of upset of who we thought that didn't really meet expectations in the playoffs, and mine's a dead tie between HAR-BER High School and Bentonville West. I feel like those 2 teams could have done better, could have gone a little farther than they did. Even though Bentonville West lost in the semis, I still think, I had them winning it all. So compared to that, I just think they didn't live up to expectations.
Yeah, I think especially coming from West, I mean, it's hard for a team that has such high praise, and I feel like it's almost kind of a weight on their shoulders to perform at such a high level. And after a while, obviously you're going to slip up once in a while, and Springdale got the best of them. And then HAR-BER, it was a tough game. Scores weren't scoring, shots weren't going in. And then, I mean, HAR-BER was able to make a little late comeback, but it was a little too much to ask for, a little too late. So it was a little disappointing. And I really don't think, if we were talking about like the girls' Cinderella story, I don't really think there's really a Cinderella story for the guys except for Springdale, honestly, because every other team, it's either been like a 1 and a 4 seed, the 1 seed's won, or if it's a 2 and a 3, I mean, really those games could go either way. So there's not really been a lot of upsets, or, experts would have thought that they would have won or they would have lost, except for the Springdale Bulldogs. I mean, obviously playing in the first round and then winning the first, second, and the third all the way to the state championship is really shows a lot about them, and it's kind of rare to see a team go that far.
Yeah, I think if we go back to the disappointment, I think, yeah, I hate to say it, but I do agree with the HAR-BER statement. But I can't take that Bentonville West and say they disappointed. Yeah, they lose in the semifinals. But that Springdale team, like we said, played a great game. But I think the main disappointment we're missing here is Little Rock Central. They were the last team to play in their first game because they're the 2 seed. So maybe that affected them. But Springdale is, I think we keep looking at these teams and we keep seeing, but these teams were playing at a championship caliber. Cabot was playing at a championship caliber. They just unfortunately lost to Jonesboro by 2 points. And then Central and Bentonville West both lost to Central, who is, I think they've got to be the favorite in this championship. But if I have to go to a Cinderella run, I predicted their Cinderella run would go a little bit further before the tournament. It would have to be Fayetteville, because although they lost in the quarterfinals, they gave Bentonville West all they could. Because if I remember correctly, Fayetteville was up going into the fourth quarter about 6 points. And then Tucker Anderson, he proved why he was one of the best players. I was setting up in the crowd, and he probably had 12 points going into the fourth quarter. He ended with 25, I would say. Maybe not that exact number, but he definitely facilitated. He did everything for Bentonville West to get them through that first round. And I was going into the next day into the semifinals thinking, okay, maybe that was the first hurdle. Now they're going to be rolling again. And then they disappoint in the semifinals, as you say. But I just think the Cinderella from this tournament, it would either have to be Cabot or Fayetteville. Obviously, Cabot proved their worth. Yeah.
I agree with Cabot. I mean, that point guard, Christopher, and then their big man was just a dynamic duo that I've not seen someone have. When you have a team with a star-studded guard plus a star-studded big, you're going to go far in the tournament no matter what, and they just got hot when it mattered. And also, just talking about it, let's talk about how the bye really hurt some teams. It really hurt the Har-BER Wildcats. It hurt the Central. Don't know what their mascot is, but it hurt Central, and it really hurt. It didn't hurt Jonesboro or Bentonville West, to be honest. It kind of fatigued Bentonville West at the beginning, but as Trevor Lawson said, they came back in the fourth.
Yeah, it's tough to, being there, it's tough to, you play your last regular season game on Friday, and some teams even that Tuesday because they're off that Friday, and then you got to come back and go to practice and prepare for a whole week over a team that you don't even know if you're going to play or not. And then you play that Friday. The team before has already won the game in the tournament, and then 2, they just have been they just played, they're feeling good about themselves. So yeah, it's definitely having a bye has its advantages and its disadvantages, honestly, obviously.
Yeah, like Fott mentioned, I think the main advantage is you have to play one less game. The disadvantage is you're playing a team that they just won their last game. But I also think that getting a bye this tournament, I think this tournament was a tournament of the 3 seeds. From Cabot making the semifinals and the guys, Springdale in the finals. If I remember, Central girls making it to the semifinals. And then Har-BER girls were really, they did end up getting, I'll just say it as it is, obliterated by North Little Rock. But that first half, Har-BER was in that game.
It was 18-19 at one point.
Yeah. I don't think North Little Rock expected to be tested like that until, I don't even know if they expected to be tested by Cabot like that until they played Conway. And I think that's the tournament of the 3 seeds is how I would describe it as. Now, maybe that's the benefit of not getting the bye, having that confidence from that first round. Yeah. But I just think the 3 seeds proved their worth.
Yeah, I agree. And some of those really weren't 3 seeds. Like Springdale was 1 game away from getting the 2 seed. Har-BER 1 game away from getting the 2 seed. So, or Har-BER girls, I should say. So yeah, and now we're going to take a quick commercial break, but we're going to come back, and what we're going to have next is the Power 5 rankings of best players in the 6A West for both men and women. We'll be right back after a quick break.
Experience everything Springdale has to offer. Visit ExploreSpringdale.com or download the new Explore Springdale app. It's the best place to discover all there is to do and see in Springdale. We'll help you explore our many eateries and attractions and introduce you to our shopping, arts, parks, and trails. You'll also find links to our great hotels and meeting venues. Download the new Explore Springdale app or visit ExploreSpringdale.com to begin your Springdale adventure.
Para un cafecito y charla en la mañana, un menú completo de información. Nuestro compromiso con la familia Springdale llega con la segunda temporada. Nuevas entrevistas, invitados especiales, temas de interés, educación, cultura, identidad y deportes. Entérate de lo que está pasando en el noroeste de Arkansas. Únete al diálogo y acompáñame. Soy Maribel Tapia en Cafecito y Charla.
When getting a mortgage, you need a team that is dependable. With over 50 years of combined experience, Advantage One Mortgage LLC are here for your needs. They also offer cash-out refinancing and free pre-approval. If you have questions regarding income, credit, or funds to close, call us today.
Goodbye, guessing. Hello, confidence. So long, stress. Hello, security. Farewell, running to the bank. Hello, banking from anywhere. Get a quick view of your balance, block lost debit cards, and quickly deposit checks anywhere, anytime with the highly rated Arvest Go mobile app from Arvest Bank. Goodbye, limits. Hello, possibilities.
Ballpark Franks got their start in 1957, right here in the ballpark. And with the taste of 100% Angus beef, passed down from one generation to the next, they soon became a tradition everywhere, bringing on the feeling of summer in every bite. Ballpark Franks, bring on summer.
Sometimes a dream car has nothing to do with horsepower or performance.
My dream car is the one that gets me to my job every day. The one that lets me help a friend in need.
I didn't think I had the credit. My credit score wasn't that good. But Car-Mart believed in me.
They believed in me. My dream car? A 2016 Nissan Sentra. What's yours?
America's Car-Mart. You keep the dream, and we'll keep you on the road.
Welcome back. Now we're going to start with the girls' side. Power 5 rankings of the best players in the 6A West. And I'm going to start us off here, then we're going to go to Trevor Lawson, and then we'll switch over to the boys. So I'm going to start with number 1. I think it's outright. I don't think there's anybody close. Patience McDaniel. I think that's, in my opinion, Patience McDaniel in her senior season, averaging 22.7, 2 steals, 2 blocks, a charge, 9 rebounds. Insane for Patience McDaniel to do what she did. Also the leading scorer all time for men and women basketball in HAR-BER history. So just saying. Number 2 is Gooden. Gooden had an amazing season. The point guard, sophomore from Northside. She's a very good player. And then another Northside player at my 3 spot, Karis Washington, dominated at the forward position, had a great year. As well as my 4 spot is going to be Carly Castile from Rogers Heritage. She was a great player. They didn't finish too high in the rankings, or at least as high as I expected them to. But at the same time, she was their main force even to make the playoffs. And then at my 5 spot, I've got from the 1 seed, Ella Campbell, who was a dominant force from the 3-point line.
Yeah, I have all 4, Ella Campbell, Gooden, McDaniel, and Washington. But I actually have Winter Beck in there as another guard, because I do feel, because we're talking about this Fayetteville team that at one point we were talking, are they going to make the tournament? And they moved all the way up to the 4 seed, led by her. And I think that she definitely deserves being ranked in that top 5 for guards especially. And I do want to give an honorable mention to Galatia Andrew. She had a fantastic season. I can make an argument for her to be over Winter or vice versa. But I just feel like Winter kind of had to will her team, kind of like more so like she was their main offense. And I feel like Andrews especially was a pass first guard, which she was great at. So I definitely think those 2 were your 5 and 6.
Yeah, she was an 8 points per game scorer, as well as I think about 7 assists per game. So to average that, it's kind of like a little Draymond Green kind of stat line, where you're getting little amount of points, but you're getting a lot to go with them. Your impact's not shown directly through points, but through other things. Galatia Andrew is a perfect pick for an honorable mention. I do like that. Honorable mention also would be Sam Ruda, the big girl from Bentonville, a very good player, stepped up. At one point, she was averaging, I think, 15 and 15. I don't know if that stayed true, but that's insane to think about a player averaging that much rebounds and points together. Now we switch over to the boys' side, which is where we get a little more Fontanopolis in here. I am going to let Font start, and Font, take it away.
So I'm gonna have to put Tucker Anderson at MVP just because they won conference, and I mean he continued to play well in state, kind of carrying the load a little bit because I think his teammate Dawson Price, I think he was sick with something, and I think he also had a broken foot.
Yeah.
Like he was playing. That's pretty crazy. So he was obviously having to carry that load, and he played good, but obviously it wasn't enough in the tournament. But yeah, I put him at my 1. At the 2, I think I'll put Jalen Lee, just because he's just a very dominant player, being able to score whenever he wants. I mean, he doesn't, he kind of slacks off on the defensive end, but I mean, I probably would too if I was as skilled as he was on offense. And then my 3 and my 4 are pretty interchangeable with the 2 sophomores from Springdale. I think, obviously 2 great players. They're in the state championship for a reason, play well with each other, play well without each other. Kind of got everything you want in those 2. And then at the 5, I'm going to have to put my boy, Jackson Conley. I think he stepped up big, leading the Wildcats only as a sophomore to the 2 seed, leading scorer, 3rd leading rebounder. It just says a lot about him, and I think that he's going to be, not only is he good right now, I think he's going to be even better his junior and then best his senior season. So, yeah.
Well, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm doing this list, and I was making it while Thought was doing his, and I had done it right before he had listed them all. But I'm going to tell you, I basically copied his because it was pretty accurate. I had Anderson at my 1, Lee at my 2, Moldrew at my 3, Sealy at my 4. But then this is where I disagree. I've got Ornette Gaines at my 5 spot. I did not expect Fayetteville to end up where they were about halfway through the season because of how they played to begin. They had a very rough start, but when they got going, Ornette Gaines became an all-star player. So I really do like that. And then I got my honorable mentions in Jackson Conley, Darian Savoy, and Nate Kingsbury. Those are my honorable mentions.
Yeah, I think,
my list is actually...
sorry to interrupt, but I think...
you're good.
I just wanted to weigh in on that. You said you didn't think Fayetteville was going to be where they were. We obviously knew they were going to make the playoffs because they were better than the bottom 3 teams. So they were either going to be the 5 or the 6 seed, and they only ended up being the 5 seed. I know they kind of made a little Cinderella run there at the end and then winning 1 game in the playoffs. But in all honesty, if you're going to compare team success into the equation, I don't know why Jackson wouldn't be at the 5, but I'll let your list stay your list.
That's very true.
Before you guys, I actually think my list would actually affect this a little bit. I have Tucker Anderson at the 1. I think we unanimous on that. And then I actually don't have Jalen Lee in my top 5 because, as you mentioned, seeding's affected it. I'm no disrespect. He's a great player. He is number 6 on my list.
I could honestly see that.
Huh.
I have Ornette Gaines at 5, just in front of Jalen Lee. Isaiah Sealy at 4, and then Jackson Conley at 3, and then Cortland Moldrew at 2.
Let's give him some respect to the sophomores.
I do think 2, 3, and 4. I definitely can see those 3 fighting for the top spot next year. But here's my bold prediction for next season. I know we don't really care about that. I think Jackson Conley will win MVP next year.
Wow.
Just based off the play that he produced this year.
I think it's insane the defensive performance that a sophomore can do in his first year that Jackson Conley did.
Yeah, I definitely think there's rumors of, or whatever, I don't know if it's actually going to happen, but rumors of Sealy going prep. And so if he were to go prep, then that would put Conley and Moldrew in the front running for that MVP spot. And so it'd be a very interesting race, very close race. I don't know who'd win it, but it'd definitely be a good one.
Yep, and then you got to think about Caden Miller, too. Caden Miller could take a huge step. You never know.
I think Caden Miller is actually confirmed that he is going prep. I'm pretty confident that he is not going to be for the Tigers next year.
Inside scoop.
That's another great point I forgot about. Caden Miller, I actually didn't have him on my top 7. I actually had Nate Kingsbury in front of him at the 7. But I do think, if Caden Miller does stay, I do think he will be in the running. But I feel like Jalen Lee and Caden Miller made each other greater players. They helped each other out whenever they needed it, and they pretty much those two players I think are what willed Bentonville into a top 4 seed.
You saw whenever in the tournament, whenever Jalen Lee was playing without Miller, and they got absolutely ran over by Jonesboro. So I agree with that.
That was not a competitive game at all, and they almost lost the first round. They only won by 2 against Bryant in the first round, which should have been an easy win for them. I mean, no offense to Bryant, but at the same time, if Bentonville was fully healthy,
you would think,
they should have. Yeah, you'd think. And so that is going to do it for our Power 5 ranking segment. Now we've got our finals predictions, so stay tuned for that. We're going to go to a quick commercial break, but don't go anywhere because we've got those final predictions right after this.
Are you ready for a new career opportunity? Ready for
teamwork?
Ready for
competitive benefits?
Ready for
A friendly culture?
Ready for
Stability and growth?
Ready for
limitless opportunities?
Cintas, ready for the workday.
Climax at the NWA, it's just an easy, customer-centered experience. Right now is probably the easiest time that I've ever seen to achieve financing for people on maybe even a more expensive vehicle or more accommodating vehicle for their family. I've got the best inventory, I would say, in the state, and my people are not only experienced in the car business, but they're experienced in the people business. Whether you just check us out online or you check us out in person, we want you to visit us. Climax the NWA and climaxthenwa.com.
Arkansans appreciate community. We work and raise families, care for our neighbors, and come together in good times and bad. At First Security, that local strength is what we love best about our home state. There is commitment here, and heart, and hope. Thank you to everyone who is standing together, learning from one another, and making Arkansas a place we all love to call home. We're proud to be your community bank.
Hometown. That word still means something here. It means we're neighbors. We do the right thing. We care about your family. And you deserve the very best every time you walk in the front door. HAR-BER. Hometown Fresh.
Welcome to McLarty Daniel Country.
With 6 giant locations and over 3,000 vehicles, Northwest Arkansas is McLarty Daniel Country. Stop by one of our showrooms today to shop our full lineup of cars, trucks, and SUVs.
McLarty Daniel is proud to be your premier automotive destination.
Need service? We work on all makes and models 6 days a week. Plus, our full-service collision center can repair anything, from a minor ding to a major collision. Have you visited McLarty Daniel Country?
Visit us online at mclartydaniel.com.
At Northwest Health, you can check in online for urgent care and ER visits. This simple step lets you pick a time that's convenient and saves your spot in line before you arrive. It's our new approach to the waiting room. Visit mynorthwestanycare.com.
Welcome back, and now we're going to do our finals predictions. We're going to start with the girls' side, Conway versus NLR, and I think it's a different year. I think it's a fresh year. I think North Little Rock is the reigning champs, but at the same time, it's Conway's time.
Yeah, I think, I'm going to be honest, I think we mentioned it earlier. I got Conway winning this by probably double digits, but they have to be careful because North Little Rock will try to fight. Let's say if North Little Rock is down at halftime, North Little Rock has, I think what we've watched in the tournament, they are a second half team. So I think Conway doesn't need to get too confident going into halftime like, oh, we got this. I do think Conway got it though.
Yeah, I definitely think North Little Rock is a really good team, and obviously they wouldn't be in the state championship if they weren't. But Conway, I mean, we've just been praising them past 2 shows. They're just a really good team, and I don't see them stopping anytime soon. I think they probably win, by like 18. So.
Yeah, interesting. There we go. And then now we go over to the boys' side. This is going to be a little more fun as we've got a little a bit of our town in it as well, as Jonesboro will take on the Springdale Bulldogs. You've got some very good guards on the Jonesboro side. Then you've got Muldrew and Seeley on the Springdale side. It is going to be a fun, star-studded matchup. And in this matchup, I'm going to be honest with you, I'm taking Springdale. They're 0-5 historically in the finals, and 2 of those coming with Coach Jeremy Price, who is now the head coach of Springdale. So I think he's got a chip on his shoulder there, and I think Muldrew and Seeley say, we want to change the history books.
Yeah, I definitely think Springdale is there for a reason. And, I mean, Coach Price is obviously wanting to win. But I don't know. I was thinking about this. I know we were going to do this segment on the show. I was thinking about this for probably 3 or 4 days, and I was just going back and forth on who was going to win because I thought Springdale had got hot, but then I thought Jonesboro has kind of been in a low because initially my thought was Jonesboro would smoke them. But I was thinking, Springdale's getting hot. Jonesboro only won by a small margin last game, and I was like, I really don't know. But Connor, because you said Springdale, and I think I know what Trevor's going to say, I'm going to pick Jonesboro, but it's definitely going to be a single-digit game. It's going to be a close one for sure. It's going to be a great game.
Just to go opposite.
Yeah, just to go opposite. I think I was looking on Scorebook Live a little bit earlier today. I believe 70% of people picked Jonesboro to win this. And I think 70% of people are completely wrong.
Yeah.
I think Springdale is going to win by 15. I look at this. If Cortland Muldrew and Isaiah Seeley can pass that ball around, I'm sorry, it's not going to be. That's just how it is. But Cortland Muldrew and Isaiah Seeley are going to spread the ball around. I see Tangus making 3 threes this game, getting 9 points, and that's going to be enough to get him a 75-60 win.
I think Tevin Tate is also going to be an underrated factor in this game as well because
it's a great point.
The big man for Jonesboro, while tall, is not very wide or not very big. And so I think Tevin Tate could have a field day if they do pass the ball efficiently. I think Tevin Tate will be the main player.
Yeah, and we've seen Tevin play against taller, skinnier bigs in Caden Miller. And I went to the game, Springdale versus Bentonville at Springdale, and although Springdale lost, Tevin had, to me, one of his better games of the season. So yeah,
he smells blood in the water when there's a mismatch.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think that Springdale, like I said, I believe they're going to win, but I do think this is going to be a very fun matchup, and that's all we can hope for in the finals. So best of luck to the Springdale Bulldogs and the Jonesboro Hurricanes. That's all I can say.
That's all we can say. That is going to be a very fun matchup. Wish we could go, but at the same time, we're going to watch it here from home. As that's going to do it for us today on this final episode of Inside the 6A for this year. It's been a very fun thing. On behalf of Jake Fontenopoulos, Trevor Lawson, and myself, thank you for watching. WCSN 100 is next. We'll see you next time.